We are live. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm here with Tim, NBA, Tim Cranges. Um, Bro, how are you doing? How's it going?
Life's good. Lakers life is not good, but no,
Oh
the
no,
rest of
life.
life is good.
Let's talk just a little. You're good. Okay, that's yeah. Let's
Yep, I'm good. I
yeah.
thankfully dodged a couple bullets in not watching these past couple games live. I got to watch the film, which was awful, but I didn't see most of these games live, so I was able to avoid the emotional toll of getting blown out twice in a row.
You definitely you definitely dodged some bullets. I'm not gonna lie, because it felt like a bullet, a dagger, and a whole bunch. Like it was not good. Like I'm still like my eyes hurt because I emotion not emotionally. It's just that Homelander like meme where he's like just staring and
Hmm.
there's just that like white noise and it's like you're just seeing it's like PTSD, but in the sense, man. Appreciate you for joining me. I I just want to go straight to the point. What the fuck is going on? Like, it, and let me put some context here in terms of because I know that the question is broader than what it really is because I think it's multifaceted. But we had a good start to the season, and then it feels like between the Orlando game or somewhere between shit start to fall apart. And I don't know if that's just we were overperforming and now reality is setting in, or if it's and I just want to pick your brain to see like what is going on, what's happening here.
I think it's a good question. I think nice philosophical question. What the hell? What's
Yeah.
going on? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm with you, man. It's disappointing. I think this roster has its limitations. We've got the injuries that are happening that are making it more challenging from a size, from a rim protection standpoint. But beyond all of that, just with like what has changed, what's going on the past couple weeks, it's not that the defense has fallen apart. The defense is bad, but it's been bad. We certainly wanted to improve, and it has. We've gotten a little bit luckier. The Lakers were very unlucky with the like 3-point percentage against the transition defense. It was like 50% for a while. Now it's dropping down a little bit. So some of the like crap, there's nothing we could do about that, but it's making the results look poor. Isn't happening anymore. However, the offense has really fallen apart the past couple of weeks. This was a Lakers offense that, from an offensive rating standpoint, before the past 2 weeks, it was like top five. And this past week, it was second worst in the NBA. And the week prior, it was in the mid 20s, I believe, just for those individual weeks. And so things have really fallen apart offensively. And I mean, for these blowouts, you don't get blown out because of one guy making a bad decision or one guy not shooting well, or just the other team is shooting really great but you're doing everything properly. Like, it takes a lot of players not doing their jobs well, whether that be negligence, or they're not doing the little things, or they're not shooting well, they're not making good decisions, technique, skills, whatever it happens to be, in order for us to get to the kinds of blowouts we've seen. And from what I've seen, what I'm tracking, I see really bad shot making. Two of the Lakers' four worst performances of the entire season when it comes to how well they are converting on the caliber of shots they're generating. Two of their first four worst performances on the year have been the past two games. So, like, really bad. They might be good in getting like okay shots, but they're just not able to hit them. The thing is, they're also not getting okay shots. They're the past two games have been two of their four worst games of the season in terms of the caliber of scoring chances they're generating. And since that Orlando game, they've had the 21st, 10th, 17th, 22nd, 7th, 20th, and 19th best games on the year of 22 games in their expected points per possession. That's a lot of their worst performances have come very recently. And so that's not good. And their scheme itself has been really bad. It has been the two worst games of the whole year have been the last two games. They are not calling plays. They are not calling good plays. And they're not calling the right plays for the right moments. And what I mean by that is, if the defense is in drop coverage, you have a section of the playbook that's good against drop coverage. Run those plays. Don't run the switch beating plays. Don't run the hedge beating plays. Run the drop coverage beating plays. And we've been playing Oh crap, here's the square hole. Let me go grab a triangle for way too much of the past couple weeks. So it is not a good way to use your players, and the process itself has been horrible. But on top of that, the team's also not shooting well recently, and that is how you end up with a blowout. And then on top of it, we already know the defense is poor, and when you put a team that is already bad in transition in more transition opportunities defensively because you can't convert on offense, things snowball really quickly, and that's how you end up losing by 20, 30, 40 points.
Yeah, and everything you just said in terms of like it kind of shows even like in eye test like something it's this is the worst stretch of basketball I've seen the Lakers like, and this is from a fan perspective, but it feels like the worst basketball I've seen the Lakers produce in terms of a product in the AD LeBron era, and that's even including probably Westbrook to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm exaggerating, but it feels like it.
It feels that way. Yeah, there might be some recency bias, but it feels that way. And like even like it's just little things like screening correctly. I've been tweeting out a bunch of clips and screenshots of like, here's a guy just completely whiffing on a screen, or like this is the right play. It's a good play. It is called at the right moment to take what the defense is giving you, and then someone just does not do their job, and the play doesn't work at all. And in my tracking, I look at like how effective are you when you call plays that fit the defensive coverage as well, and it's always just about always better than when you score a pick around hole. But this past game, even when they ran good plays for the coverage, they were scoring. They had a 71 offensive rating, which is unfathomable. It is by far the worst on the season.
Yeah.
And it was just play after play of like, yeah, great play call, good job JJ or Greg St. Jean or whoever the hell is calling the plays. But you're not screening. If you can't screen, you can't make decisions, you're not going to just magically get good results because the coaches do a good job. And so I'm not saying the coaches were doing a great job, but even when they were calling the right things and teeing the team up well and giving you telling you to take exactly what the defense is giving you, the team just could not do it. So just complete ineptitude offensively, and it's really, really bizarre to see. I don't think the defensive ceiling for this group is high, at least not with who's healthy, but the offense has to be better than it's been.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that Austin Reeves has also missed the last 3 games. Like it doesn't help that like the injuries have plagued this team to a certain degree. And not having a viable backup center also kind of like they basically goes from AD to Koloko. Like that's not ideal either. So their margins for victory are reduced significantly. And I just wanted to ask though, like when it comes to like where is the disconnect? Like could it be like between like because and I'm basing this off the last game, and maybe the last game is a real aberration because that game didn't feel like an NBA game, felt like something out of a horror movie. But when we look at like what JJ said, like ownership, like I'll own this, but there has to be ownership on the court. Like that for me feels like he's saying like the coaching staff is trying to tell them to do something and they're not responding. Is it more that they're not responding or they just cannot like it because like the Rui thing, like is it more like he isn't aware of what he wants to do or where he needs to be, or it's just like is it more of a personnel thing, or is it just like they're as a collective they're just not engaged? Because it's just wild to me, like, and I'm seeing your post. It's the screening, like it's just wild to me, like seeing that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of different things. Part of it with the little details is that in game, I'm not like watching live. I didn't catch some of those Rui issues with the screens, and he's not the only one. But he had a couple of the most egregious. The coaches probably aren't either. Some of his teammates aren't noticing that. Like, on film, it's very obvious, but when there's a lot going on and you're trying to manage a bunch of things and you're probably looking at the ball, sometimes you get away with that stuff. And it matters and it hurts the team, but if you get away with not having to put a body on somebody and it's never addressed, you were able to cut a corner and nobody ever points it out, you're more likely to cut that corner in the future. Some of the stuff is like, maybe you don't understand how important it is to do it the way we need you to do it. Some of it is, yeah, I know it matters, but like, if I don't do it, like, whatever. Nobody cares. If this stuff matters to you as a team, they need to call it out when it's done right and praise it. They need to call it out when it's done poorly and make everybody aware of it and show exactly, here's what we want. There should be no confusion. It should not be a process or a training gap. We should tell you, you are very physically equipped to set a good screen. This is what we want. This is what good technique looks like. This is what bad technique looks like. And then we're going to keep, an eye on it. And we're going to call it out in game, after the game, before the game, during, pre-game, during walkthroughs, during film reviews. If we see the stuff done well, we're going to praise it. If it's done poorly, we're going to call it out. Because for a team that runs an offense that relies a lot on ball screens and off ball screens, way too much of it recently has not been executed correctly. And I don't think that's just because Rui's a bad guy or Rui doesn't have the skill to do it. Like, he can do it. It's a cultural, like, coaching thing. And it's not broken. It's not that it can't be fixed, but it is something that, like, I don't know. We're seeing the poor attention to detail in enough areas that I wonder about if, to an extent, some or all the members of the coaching staff are juggling a lot and a ball here or there gets dropped at different points in time in different areas. And right now, this is the ball that, like, they just don't have it on their radar. And so it's happening. I'm noticing it on film. I'm sure they probably noticed it on film as well, but they're noticing it too late to fix it in game, and that's allowing it to happen more often.
That makes sense. And to that point, so you said ball screen, and we're more of a ball screen heavy. Again, sorry for my terminology. I don't know all the terminologies, Tim. I do follow you in terms of the podcast and whatnot, but sometimes I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot to take in. But
yeah, no, call me out. I'm sorry. I live and breathe this stuff, and I've playing, coaching, consulting. Like, it's if there are times where you need me to call timeout. Hey, Tim, what does this mean? Or what do you mean by that? Please do it.
Well, here's my point. Like, so when you say we're heavy on the ball screen, doesn't that take away from AD to a certain degree? Because, like, I feel like there's been, like, a clear change from the first half of the season. I wouldn't say the first half of the season, but the beginning of the season to our stretch of 10 games now. And maybe it's me, but it's like the emphasis is not like AD's coming off the post or LeBron's operating off the post. It's more screens, like you're saying, but doesn't that take away from the strength that we had last season?
What the Lakers did, I think it's a really good question. Often AD is involved as the screener for the ball screen, and when you're running a pick and roll, which is what I mean by a ball screen, and you can kind of lump handoffs into this as well, depending on what the defense is doing, it's going to open up different things. If the defense is switching and AD setting a screen for D'Angelo Russell, great. Now AD has a guard on him, and we can post him up. If the defense is hedging, and they what I mean by that is when D'Lo's coming off the ball screen that Anthony Davis is setting, the defense has AD's guy right in his face. They're not going to let him take a pull-up three. They're not going to let him drive. They are basically double-teaming him for a second to make him pick the ball up or have to retreat. As they do that, AD's open. AD's going to be attacking downhill, and you have a four Lakers against 3 defenders away from the ball because they're double-teaming the ball for a second. In those situations against hedging, that is where get the ball to the screener, let him go to work, attack the numbers advantage can be really good. And that is another way you can get AD involved. When teams hedge, when they put 2 on the ball, that's when you see the backline rotations be really important. And that is where, when the team is running plays where you've got, in addition to that ball screen happening, you also have Dalton Connect coming off of a screen by Rui or by Cam Reddish or whoever on the weak side of the court. That gives those defenders a second job to do. They've got to worry about the Dalton action. They can't rotate over to be ready for AD when he's rolling. So that's where calling better plays opens up your roll man, and that's what the Lakers last season were very good at, is they generated a ton of roll man possessions. This year, it's not nearly as high. And so when the team is running ball screens, we're seeing the ball handler get shots up, we're seeing some kickouts, but getting the ball to the roll man is something I do think the Lakers can do a better job with. Now, when the defense is in drop coverage and they're trying to defend the rim, that is where AD popping is going to be open. So there are, depending on whatever the defense is in, there might be an 80 post up, an 80 pop, 80 roll. It really just depends on if the offense is seeing what the defense is doing and pressing the right button. When AD is trying to pop against a switch, it's not going to be open, but he's doing that. When AD is trying to roll against the drop coverage and it's not there, like it's not doing a whole lot. So finding, seeing what the defense is in and taking what what they're giving you is what I mean when I talk about coverage fit and, square peg, square hole sort of stuff. And that has been an area the Lakers have really struggled with this season, more so than last year. And that's why even though they're running good plays, they're not running them at the right time, and that means they're not working. And in a lot of them, AD should be benefiting, but he's just not. And then the other piece is when AD's getting the ball in the post, and LeBron too, they've been the least effective that each of them has been in about a decade. And yeah, LeBron's getting a little older. He's going to be a little bit less effective. Worst in a decade? And AD shouldn't be dropping off like that. Shouldn't be worse than a decade. What we're seeing is the defense is sending help, and the Lakers aren't doing anything to counter the help. They're just letting the help come, and now AD's trying to go 1v2, and that's not good. It's not good offense. He's great, but that's not good offense. And so until the team puts strategies in place to counter that help with what I call help beaters, and they do so consistently with some structure, that's going to be an area of the game where it might seem like the Lakers aren't trying to play through AD, but they get him the ball, he's getting harassed, he has to kick it out, and you have to reset. And he never got a shot up, or he's getting up a bad shot. And so they're trying to do some things. It's just that the scheme isn't there. But beyond that, I also agree with you. They're playing a little bit less through him recently since he's returned from, he missed game 8 of the season with an injury. Since he's come back, he's been less involved offensively, not by a ton, but by enough that I think it's noticeable. And I think, to me, my best guess is it's a mix of he's playing hurt, which we know he is, and also they're asking him to expend more of his energy bar on defense than on offense, because this team has the offensive skill. They right now do not have the defensive talent, and so they need him to be his best self on that end, even if it means a little bit of, taking a playoff here or there on offense.
And that's and moving, and I appreciate that. Actually, that opens up, that answers a lot of my questions, but it also creates another issue where it's like, if AD's focused on defense, why are they switching so much? And maybe this is a question that you've been asked 1,000 times, but it's like, it's way too noticeable, and it's like there's no communication on the defensive end. And I remember last season we were running a lot of drop. I don't see that this season. Like, is it time to kind of go back to that, or is it like the frequency's just not there, or we don't have the personnel? Like, why is the defense, like, even though we don't have the personnel, like, why is it so significantly bad from last season though?
Yeah, really good question. Last year, the team was one of the most drop coverage heavy teams in the league, and they weren't switching much and they were not hedging much. And it was probably too much drop given what their roster looked like. This year, the team has switched among the most of any team in the league, and they're rarely hedging, and they're dropping at like an average-ish rate, but they're mostly switching. And we're seeing them be very, very willing to switch 1 through 4. And what that creates is every single opponent that's about to play the Lakers in their pregame is saying, we can get any one of our offensive players against any one of their defensive players, and they will let it happen. We can pick our matchup. We could put, our best guy against your worst guy, and they're going to give it to us. And that's looking like, Dalton Connect defending an ISO too much. It's looking like Austin Reeves defending an ISO too much. It's looking like the bigs defending an ISO too much. And it is, you switch as a defense in order to take away the initial actions that another team runs. You're not giving, like, in basketball, at the end of the day, it's about drawing help and then beating the help. If I can draw 2 guys to me, I know I have a 4v3 or a 3v2 or a 2v1 I can go attack. If you're switching, you are saying for any screening action, on ball or off the ball, we don't want to give any extra attention to it. We are going to keep it a 2v2 action. And that has merit. However, after you do it, maybe you shut down the staggered pin down screen, or you shut down the pick and roll. But now you're dealing with mismatches. And the Lakers roster and personnel, especially right now, they don't have the guys to defend well there. Like, you are only as good as your weakest link as a switching defense, and the Lakers have several weak links. Dalton Connect's a bad defender. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, they're not very good defenders. Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, they've struggled a bit defensively. you are starting 4 of your 5 starters right now are guys who have F grades in our defensive impact metric at B-ball index. AD is out there trying to like save the world, but when he's in drop, he's at least like at the rim at all times. There are ways to attack drop, but AD is going to be at the rim to rebound, to block shots, to contest shots. When you switch, it's really easy to get him stuck in the corner, not able to help. And the Lakers as a 4-man unit minus AD don't have size, don't have rim protection, and don't have good rebounding. And we're seeing that play out. So you don't want to switch as much. And I think the Lakers should switch less with Anthony Davis, with Jackson Hayes. However, the other thing that we're seeing that, just, hey, run drop coverage isn't quite the answer is if, let's say, Cam Reddish or Max Christie, who have been good defenders this year, are defending Jamal Murray, and Christian Brown is being defended by Dalton Connect, and they have Brown go and set a screen for Murray. Are you going to run drop coverage with a guard? No, you're not going to. Either you're going to switch it, which is what the Lakers are doing, and that gives up a mismatch, or you can have Connect jump out, try to harass Murray for a second to buy Max or Cam or whoever enough time to get around the screen, and then after they get around the screen, you want Dalton to get the hell out of there. You do not want to give up the switch. By hedging, you are giving up a 4v3 for the offense, and when a guard is setting that screen, and a guard is getting the ball potentially in the short roll, now you've got a guard running the show, not a big man who might not be a good passer or dribbler. You've got someone who can pass, who can dribble, who can make decisions, and that is a scary place to be as a defense, and one where if you're going to do it well, you want to have size and rim protection among the rest of your defenders, and the Lakers right now don't have that. So as is, they could be dropping more with their bigs, but with their guards, it's a lose-lose situation, switch or show and recover. And that's not going to improve until you add like a Christian Wood or Jared Vanderbilt or make a trade for some of these bigger bodies. You're still going to have numbers disadvantages, but with bigger bodies, you're going to be able to play passing lanes better, close out better, block shots at the rim better. And so as is, yeah, you can tweak the scheme a little bit, but you still have a low ceiling until you get some reinforcements one way or another.
That makes perfect sense. And it explains the predicament that the Lakers are in. But diving a bit more towards like targets, or because like the more I see this, like recent woes, I can say like effort. I hope effort can fix by itself. I think pride's gonna kick in at some point, and I think they're all gonna, hopefully, they're all gonna unite. At least that's my hope. But there's a big issue, and it's the personnel that you've been saying, because the defense, you said, has a ceiling. So if we want to kind of like improve this roster, I'm concerned. Like I'm gonna be frank. I'm concerned. I don't know. Sometimes I tweet a lot of stuff, but I like the cap. I like talking cap. I like talking trades. I like numbers are my thing. But the more I see certain reports out there, the more I see what the Lakers need. Like, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, we need a defensive guard. We need a 3-and-D. And those are like the 1 and 2. And probably then we can talk about a big. But it seems like everything is focused on a big. And those bigs is like, the only 2 names that we've been linked is Jonas and Vucevic, it seems. And I'm concerned. I don't know if you feel the same, but yeah.
So the way I look at it, the reason, I'll pitch you, I'll try to change your mind. The reason why, and I guess throw away the couple names you just mentioned, but in theory, if you can bring in a good defensive player, and you're going to choose between like a guard defender at the point of attack, a wing stopper who might be, guarding your Brandon Ingrams or your Kevin Durant's, or like a defensive like anchor big. To me, if I can only get one of those and add it to this roster, the one I would pick would be the defensive big. And the reason for that is if you go and get, there's fake names, but if you can go get Drew Holiday and he can go be your lockdown guard defender, and he can go take Jamal Murray in the example I talked about earlier, and the offense still runs over and sends Christian Brown to set that screen for Jamal Murray, Are you still going to switch Dalton Connect onto him? Because if you do, now Drew Holiday's guarding someone that, like, you know, great, you're locking down Christian Brown. That's not really helping us as much. It's still too easy to get a good defender out of the way. Same thing with, like, when we had Jared Vanderbilt, the game people keep pointing me to, or we still do have him, but the game people point me to for, like, this is what he could do, is when he defended Luka really well a couple years ago. He did a great job in ISO. He was very disruptive, but as soon as Dallas started running ball screens, he was taken out of the freaking plays because he can't navigate ball screens well. And the Lakers ended up having to give up switches, and now he's guarding, you know, some schmuck in the corner, and he's not helping you. Same issue with wing defenders. Like, it can be good as long as the offense is stupid and doesn't want to, like, set any screens. If they set screens, you are going to be giving up those 4-on-3s if you're showing and recovering, or you're going to give up mismatches with switches. With a big man, even if Austin gets beat, or LeBron gets beat, or AD gets beat, or whoever, if you have another rim protector out there, they will be able to impact a higher percentage of plays and help clean things up even when guys make mistakes, whether they are a good or a bad defender. And so that's why, like, if you can get another rim protector out there, slot AD as your 4, you should be able to overcome having weak perimeter defense because your interior defense is so strong. I would much rather have good rim protection than good perimeter defense and be bad in the other area, because you will have breakdowns, whether it's one-on-one guys getting beat or really good plays manufacturing breakdowns. You will have breakdowns. The ability to recover comes down to your rim protection, you're rotating, and that is where a big man can help solve things. And then the other piece of this is, like, LeBron, his defense is really falling off. He's had a rough year so far. Where, you know, he'll be asked to do even less is if he's defending as a 3 instead of a 4. Right now, he's your number 1 rim protector behind AD. If he could be your 3rd rim protector instead of your 2nd rim protector, that's really helpful for the team, and that's where adding another big can help. So that would be my pitch for go for a big instead of go for, like, a guard or wing if you only have one to add. Now, if you can have both, great, or all 3, great. But if you're only going to pick one, that's why I lean that direction. Although the specifics and the names and all of that definitely matters too.
Yeah, that makes, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it probably was what, 3 or 4 minutes, and you kind of, like, convinced me. I'm not gonna lie, like, okay. you convinced me. The thing that scares me is, like, when you pull up, like, and I think you tweeted this about Vucevic, like, he ranks, I think, what, dude. Like, really I know he's bad, but again, people are gonna see, like, what was it last night? He scored like 30-something points, like something crazy, and they're gonna see the offensive side of things, and it's gonna be like, oh, look at what he can do, all these points, and it's like, yeah, but what about the defensive woes that this team is suffering? And here's my point, and I don't want. I'm gonna throw some names at you, and you can just rank them in terms of fit for the team. And
you're just fit, not about, like, what we'd return in a trade.
Let's just go with fit. Okay. You know, because, like, honestly, we can build this so many ways, but let's just imagine fit for a second. Jones.
And you mean fit for this year right now? Don't care how old they are. Doesn't matter about the future. Just, like, right now contributing to a title, or do you mean, like, you know, some guys are younger, so they might have more short and long-term value?
Do you still think we are? Wait. Do you still think we are a championship? Like, can we be a championship team with yes the big?
Not if LeBron is playing like he's playing, and if AD is hobbled all year long. No, we can't. No. We can't make 1 or 2 moves and be a title contending team. If those guys play like they are, I am going to, for this exercise, assume that they can both return to form, and we're trying to, I guess, pick the best player for right now. Is that what we'll say?
Yeah, that's what we'll say. Like, right now, this roster, the current roster that we have.
All right, throw the names at me.
All right, Jonas, Vooch, Jakob, and Kessler. I think, and let's just add Rob Williams. I think those are 5, right? If I'm not mistaken. But how do you rank them? Like, which one would be the best fit for us?
Let me think about this. So, and maybe I need to recalibrate a little bit because the long term doesn't matter here. But to me, what I'm looking for is I want someone that can help defensively. Yeah. Any of these 5 guys, they would help slot AD as a 4, and so there's some inherent value regardless of which one you pick by adding more rim protection, even if the rim protector isn't very good for a big, which is what I'm looking at with Nikola Vucevic. Even Valanciunas this year, he's has a D rim protection grade among anchor bigs. So I don't like Vucevic. Great, he can space the floor. That doesn't really solve our problems. Like, I'm not looking at a team that, like, man, if only we could space the floor a little bit better, we could do it. That's not what the issue is at the moment, and so that has me dropping him down. Another thing is, like, yeah, he can score, he can put up points. On this team, he's going to be your, like, third or fourth or maybe fifth scoring option, depending on the lineup. Probably third or fourth in most lineups. And so we're not going to see him produce the same amount just because of the changing environment. So he's low for me. Robert Williams, I have concerns about just his ability to stay on the court, his ability to play, his ability to stay healthy. When he's healthy, I think he fits great. I think he's a really good rim protector. He can fit in offensively. That's fine. But I struggle to rank him high compared to some of the others because of that. Pirtle, he's been okay this year. He's been more of a mobile, like, switch and hedge sort of big man. He's fine as a finisher. His rim protection has been not great for a big. I think the idea of him has been better than what he's shown us so far this season.
Gotcha.
Kessler and Valanciunas, I think, would be my top two, I suppose. I really like Kessler as, like, defensively, elite rim protector, and is going to be, you know, he's not the best rebounding big, but he's fine. And him plus AD and, you know, the slotting helps there. That's a normal weakness he has that for us I'm not concerned about. His rim protection is elite. If he's out there, it allows you to switch and be in better shape, to hedge and be in better shape, to drop and be in better shape, and have just like the him plus AD this year and in the future, which I know isn't part of the discussion, but I think his age presents some long-term upside as well. He's not in his prime yet, but he offensively is a strong finisher. He can, get play on the boards. He can get your dump offs. He can be a roll man. He does what I need him to do. I don't need him to do a whole lot. I'm not looking for a guy to add that I need to, have the ball in their hands. He fits in with a LeBron and AD team because he slots them appropriately on defense, and on offense, he's just easy to plug and play. Valanciunas has more value as an offensive piece. He can be more of a post option in a way that Kessler isn't, but defensively is nowhere close to as good as a rim protector, but is similarly, I think, poorly versatile in coverage. I trust Kessler a bit more to hedge and to switch. I prefer Kessler the most. Now, I think he's going to cost more than several of these other options. Maybe all of these other options.
Oh, but most likely, yeah.
Player alone, he to me would be the guy that I'd put at the top, because I think if you put him in there immediately, whether 80's on court or off court, you will be a better defensive team by quite a bit. And offensively, I don't expect a ton of drop off, especially with how we've seen the Lakers be smarter about using Hayes and Anthony Davis out there together. I trust that will translate to Kessler in a way that, if I'm talking about adding Kessler to this team and Frank Vogel's the coach or Darvin Ham's the coach, I'm a little bit more worried. But with JJ, with the scheme they're running, that works. And so that is why I would lean his direction. And then, of course, you have the bonus of the fact that he's young and he can be, part of the future as well.
Correct. And if you're going to invest the amount of capital that's required to take him, being his age and whatnot, the future, I think that's an upside. I want to ask you about Jonas, though, because I think those two are, I agree with you, those are the top two. But Jonas, my reluctance to go with Jonas is that we saw, last year we kind of did the Pelicans dirty, in terms of the play-in. I believe it was the play-in, if I'm not mistaken, that we put Jonas on action, and basically he couldn't stay on the court. My concern is, does that happen if you pair him with AD? Does a elite offense put Jonas in a position where he just can't stay on the court, or am I tripping? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, he's mediocre in coverage. So if you're trying to run ball screens and attack him as a drop guy, I think you can have some success. He's not going to switch. He's not going to hedge well. And so if he's only going to run drop, and you have some good pull-up shooters, you're gonna be able to create some good looks. And AD can't really help you there. AD can't. If AD's guarding someone in the corner, he's not going to be able to get to the top of the key and take away the pull-up three-pointer. So that weakness is there. Now, if you do, in those scenarios, make him, have to guard closer to the ball, and that's giving up a roll, having AD on the back line is helpful. So you can put Valanciunas in uncomfortable situations for him because you're in a better situation to clean up for it than the Pelicans ever were, because they never had that guy next to him that can clean up. So whether it's a switch or it's a hedge on the perimeter, if you can create space and get a shot up, AD can't help you. But if you're going to try to get to the rim, that is where Anthony Davis can really help. So it should be better. His weaknesses are his weaknesses. In some of the ways you'd exploit it, AD doesn't change the situation, but there are others where AD does help. So it would be better. But I do still think he has those limitations, and I can understand if a team is trying to target him, it can be problematic.
That makes sense. That makes sense. This is a tough cookie. I'm not gonna lie, and diving into a little bit of the trades, but not too much, because honestly, it's more a thought. But if you have to make a trade currently, as we've seen so far, who are the players that you would trade? Like, put on the trade block, if that makes sense. Is there any player that kind of like redeemed their value from last year and you would say like, no, I'd rather keep him, or no?
I think Max Christie has really improved, and his impact has been much better. I think because he's not like uber elite and disruptive on defense, he doesn't stand out there as much as he probably should, because he's a good defender. And then offensively, he's not as dynamic of an option as like a Connect or the on-ball guys, so he doesn't stand out there as well. He's just like playing well and like kind of 3-and-D player, easy to slot in. Last year, he was asked to do a lot that he's not good at, and he was really bad at it, predictably, and I was much more willing to give up on him. I'm more interested in keeping him around. D'Lo is another guy that, like, I don't know that he's played better this year. He's shooting much worse from three, but his playmaking, his on-ball creation is something that if you move him out and you bring back like one of these defensive guys that we're talking about, you as a team offensively are in a much worse spot. So unless you're bringing back playmaking, I really struggle to see a scenario where trading Austin or trading D'Lo makes a ton of sense. I think if I'm looking at who I'm wanting to send out, Rui is an easy one. Gabe Vincent is an easy one, just positionally, given how many guys you have. JHS is an easy one, of course. I'm looking at trading the picks. That's like the core group. D'Lo and Christie are ones that, like, I'm not just, give them away. I wouldn't be giving them away. I want to make sure I'm getting certain things back in return. I think, to me, honestly, anyone's on the table in theory, depending on what the return is, but I'm not like actively shopping Max Christie or Austin Reeves or D'Angelo Russell. I'm trying to gauge value, of course, but yeah, I think Rui, Vincent, JHS, and picks are what you're looking to bargain with. And I think the guys that we've talked about so far can be obtainable for accommodations of what I just mentioned. Like a Nick Claxton won't be. And
Nick Claxton is expensive.
He'll be much more expensive. He would be at the top of my list if he were affordable, but he's not for the Lakers. But yeah, I think that's what I'm looking to move.
Would you put all your assets on? Because you can, money-wise, you could push for Claxton if they wanted to.
Yes, they just won't want to. The Brooklyn people I've talked to have made it clear that like what they are looking for if they were to move him is much more than the Lakers can offer. And he's also at an age where, like, if he were 28, he would be much more obtainable for us because he's not part of their future. Right now, they're not trying to compete. They know it's going to take them a number of years. He's young enough that he'll be around for when they do feel they're in a position to compete, and because of that, they're not in any rush to get rid of him. Now, Cam Johnson is obtainable. Dorian Finney-Smith is obtainable, and those are guys that I'd be looking at. But Claxton, I don't think would be someone that's realistic this year.
Okay, that's interesting. You know what? Let's close it off with this. If you had a shopping list, which one would you, like, what is the singular player that would elevate this team? Like, just the trade. Like, what's the Tim Crange's contending lineup, if that makes sense?
I think the answer is that there's no one trade that does that. That's realistic. I think it's going to have to be like multiple trades, and also LeBron and AD play better.
Let's assume LeBron and AD plays better. Let's just assume like I think they. I cannot believe that LeBron is going to be this the entire season. I cannot believe AD is going to be this the entire season. Like I still have to have faith. So let's just assume they're going to be back. My question is like, forget about the multiple trades. Just the players. Just which are the players?
I would say give me Kessler because positionally he has an opportunity to have the largest impact and solve the issues you have most with size, with rebounding, with opening up, running other coverages, opening up, running other lineups, moving AD to the 4 and LeBron to the 3, and in a world where you're not competing for a title, which is a possibility. I know we hope it's not. We hope AD and LeBron can play well. There is a possibility they don't, or even if you make one of these good trades, you're not in that position. I would much rather have him 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now than Pirtle, than Valanciunas, than hoping Robert Williams can be healthy, than Vucevic, because those guys are all either injury prone or much, much older and are depreciating assets rather than appreciating assets. And Walker Kessler's best days are ahead of him. And so if I'm going to grab somebody and want them for the future, he is there. He is that guy compared to these others. So yeah, that is who I'd be looking at. I think I need a big. I want a defensive big. And if I can get a defensive big that is young, perfect. If I can have one that could shoot like a Miles Turner, that's even better. But I don't think that's realistic. So in the absence of that, if I can get a good lob threat guy on offense that can finish well and help me on the boards and then defensively protect the rim, that's the best you can do in terms of like squeezing the most synergy and impact out of one player. But again, I don't think this gets the job done. I think you need that plus like a Dorian Finney-Smith or a Cam Johnson.
Oh, that plus Dorian Finney-Smith or Cam Johnson.
Which I don't think the Lakers will be able to afford collectively. Maybe they can get like DFS and then like a Nick Richards or something like that, or a Cam Johnson and a Nick Richards. But a Kessler is going to be more expensive.
What about Tice?
What about who?
Daniel Tice.
Okay. Yeah, he's on the older end. He's not been playing as well. Gotcha. I don't think he moves the needle in a way that would be meaningful to me.
Gotcha. Alrighty. I think the crux of it, at least this topic, Kessler's the move. Lakers, go get him. I mean, hey man, hopefully they do make a move, but they gotta show up at some point. And in the recording of this, they're facing Atlanta. This video is gonna be posted after the fact, so fingers crossed they win or they at least compete, the bare minimum. And Tim, where can people find you, man?
Yeah, check me out on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, Tim_NBA. If you like this kind of content, want to learn a little bit more about the X's and O's side of things, I've got a podcast called the Lakers Exceptionalism Podcast. I do it with my buddy Tom on a weekly basis. You can get content there, and then we do pods during the week on our bonus pods for our Discord group as well. Check those areas out. If you like numbers, you like data, check out B-Ball Index. We've got some cool stuff that is we're dropping soon there. I'd say those are the main ways to get to me.
Awesome. And I'll leave those links below. Guys, I appreciate you for tuning in. Hopefully the Lakers don't disappoint us. Well, they're probably going to disappoint at some point again, but hopefully it's all good news from now on. I don't like that. I feel like I'm jinxing.
It won't be, but yeah, we can hope for that.
Hey, I just want to see. Hey, can we just have competent basketball? Like that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Let's just have some basketball. Like that's.
Yeah, it's gonna be better. I mean, like even if they keep making the same mistakes, they're not gonna shoot as poorly as they did the past two games. They haven't. Like they've been two of their worst shooting performances of the year, even for the quality of shots they've gotten. So even if they keep, putting the square peg in the round hole and things like that, they're gonna do better moving forward. Hopefully now they also fix the process and are just playing well. But We've gotten a combination of bad process, bad execution, and bad luck, and all three of those won't continue.
Well, hopefully JJ sees the process issues, and hopefully the Lakers kind of get out of their slump or luck, or they start shooting better. Because honestly, it's rough as a fan to kind of like just sit and see that. But Tim, appreciate you. Thank you all. Have a good weekend and stay safe out there. Later.
Thank you.